So who would like to start us off? Comment or question? And we've got about 20 minutes at least of questions before we round up.
Hello, I'm Diana. I'm part of Engage. I'm a local resident. I just live up the street, and I love living in the city and I love growing in the city, but I get really excited about farms and farming, so I'm going to be visiting very soon. And same with home baked. I tried the first home baked pie in Granby Market a couple of years ago, and I wasn't into pies before. I really actually didn't see the point of them until I had one of yours. Same with Farm Urban. We used to get your veg box, and we loved just the fact that it was delivered on a little bike. And we are still to come to know it, but we will. And my favorite vegetable is pak choi. And my question is actually, so I live in a city center, and for me it's really important to support local businesses and to grow in my own yard or inside the house before when we were in a flood. And I'm trying to, I don't quite get why this is not more widespread, because in my head, the idea that everybody has a window box with something growing, it would be like a revolution. So I'm just see what you think about that.
Dinah lives on Duke Street, so she's our nearest neighbour. Would either of you like to comment on growing in this city? And we'll come to Jens, obviously, as well.
I think you're right, and I think it's always... we did some community gardens before, as well as doing this. We've got an urban site in Stockport that people come and do community gardening, and people really love it. And I think what we encourage is growing different things, I suppose. So kind of growing perishable, or things you really love growing, things you really, really want to eat, like grow that in your garden or in your window box or, backyard or whatever, or come together in a community garden if you don't have any space yourself. And then in the farm, grow stuff that just makes sense on a farm scale. But yeah, totally agree. I guess not everyone wants to, crazy as that might seem, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess that home growing is something that really kind of interests me, because I think, obviously, we're urban farmers, we grow in a particular way, and one of the things is, with our systems, you can actually grow in a flat without even having a window box. So that's one possibility. But then, even a flat, as you said, you've got a window box, and I do wonder, there are some kind of papers out there, but I don't think anyone's really explored what happens if everybody on their window box grew something, if every garden grew something, like the amount of land and the amount of food that would generate. Because you often hear that people claim that, if you farm more organically, that it's not productive enough and it's not sustainable enough. We can't feed people farming that way, and I really don't believe that. But I do wonder, if everyone was involved in growing more and more connected, that there'd be so much land that would come online through that. But it also links into that kind of, people's behaviour and education, because there is so much going on in different areas. But we were talking about this in the bit before. But it's kind of convenience as well. And I think I'm certainly guilty of it. It's really difficult to get food from all these different places. From the Kindling Farm, you can get this, you can get that. Suddenly your food shop becomes a whole mission in itself, whereas what the supermarkets do is you walk in, it's all there, you don't have to think about it. And I think it's partly an education piece, making people realise that, but people realise the power that they've got to grow, but also to shop and how that's done. But for me, it's like lowering the barriers to all these different things, lowering the barriers to growing at home, so schools educating kids how to do that, but then also lowering the barriers to accessing the type of food that is being produced in cities, but is often struggling to find it out to the right markets.
Thank you very much.
Hi, is that working? Yeah. I think Jens said something earlier, and he talked about the healthy pies and the healthy foods from Kindling, and it made me wonder what makes us say that is healthier than the stuff we pick up in Tesco. and I'm not doubting it, but it feels to me like, and I don't know if you agree, that we're almost like, I don't know, in the 15th century chemistry, where this kind of alchemy, and we're doing things and we're beginning to learn just the beginnings, but we don't really have any clue. We talk now about ultra-processed food as being one of the really bad things for our health, but we don't really have a definition of ultra-processed food. And we have an idea of healthy food and unhealthy. I mean, there are some obvious examples we can talk about, but after that, do we know where we are? And do we trust that we will learn, where we ought to be? Does that ring a bell?
I want to think about who wants to answer. It sounds like it's something that Feeding Liverpool should be answering, really. And I'm hoping that Keenan is listening carefully. Do you want to answer that, Keenan?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Am I on? I think that there is definitions on ultra-processed food and what that does to our health, but there's people who are much brighter than me that can answer that question, some in the room that work with us at Feeding Liverpool from public health, so I won't necessarily try that. I think from what I've heard from the panel and Helen and Chris today, they're talking about good food, which I think there's quite a diverse sort of definition on, and it means something different to different people. I'm sure that everybody here is producing good food, and I think what's not right in the city is that people don't always have the opportunity to buy good food. They don't have access to good food. So Jens has mentioned it there about the barriers that people face. So I think good food can be the nastiest doner kebab you could ever imagine after 10 pints of beer. But I also know that good food is nourishing, healthy fruit and vegetables. But I'm in a privileged position to be able to choose and have the opportunity to buy good food. So good food isn't always about health. It's a big part of it. But yeah, I think that having the opportunity is the important thing. And then I suppose you can think about healthy food in terms of a healthy economy as well. And you can think about healthy communities and the impact that these organisations have for their staff, for their local communities, for their customers, for the businesses they work with. I think that's an important factor in when we talk about healthy food or a healthy food system as well. It's not necessarily just about the nutritional quality of food, because for me personally, that reduces food down, it boils it down to something that it shouldn't be. But it's important that people have the opportunity to buy healthy, nutritious food and good food. So I don't know how that answers the question, but I'll pass on to somebody else.
Thank you. So we kind of talk more about having a healthy relationship with food rather than healthy food. And I know a lot of people in the organic sector like to say that organic food is healthier than others, and the science isn't very strong. There is arguments that organic food can take longer to grow and therefore it's more nutritious, but we shy away from that. For us, it's about having a healthy relationship with food, and our way of farming creates healthy soil. And we feel that growing on your balcony or having food enterprises in the city or having access to farms is a way of creating a healthy relationship with food and those people who produce it. So for us, that brings about well-being and education and all these other benefits that Kieran's talking about as well. So yeah, that's what I would say, I think.
Anybody else want to? Daniel?
Yeah, I think the word healthy, when you associate it with food, comes with a certain, I don't know what the word is, but I think the better word to associate with food would be control. If you understand where it's come from, if you understand who's the person behind the growing and who's been feeding the animal and exactly where the fish came from, those are the things that I think could be a better way of defining what is healthy rather than from a price or even down to organic. To be honest, sometimes organic in certain ways is a green tick box or something that is, slightly better grown than something you buy that's cheaper. So yeah, I would think control would be important.
I think for me, part of it is, I think it's kind of how it makes you feel. I think it's something about awareness and like body awareness. It's like when you eat really fresh, healthy, homegrown food that's come from a local farm, after that meal, I certainly feel energized and kind of and alive. Whereas if you eat like a frozen pizza, like after that, if you really like check in with how you feel, you do not feel good. And it's not that that's right or wrong. It's like, it's fine. Sometimes, you know, you want the kebab, you want that pizza. It's great, but it's like, it's that balance. It's like most of it being nourishing and healthy, which I think our bodies just know. Our bodies have this internal wisdom. And sometimes, yeah, you do want the kebab, but it's like, it's tapping into, like, listening to what our body's telling us.
I suppose from my perspective, there's an element of whole swathes of this city have no choice because they haven't actually got access to healthy food. They don't even live by a supermarket. They live with corner shops, fast food takeaways, or what they can scrabble from being donated at the food bank. So there's something in there that actually healthy food for some of the people that live around us is actually being able to choose what you buy. And I think that's something that's really important, that we shouldn't forget, that we've got a responsibility to make sure that people across the city have got the choices. And that's what Home Bake's all about, is giving that choice to people in our community who have no other choice. So eating healthily is absolutely a luxury to them. In any definition of healthily, it's being able to choose what you eat and it to be able to be nutritionally healthy. They haven't got that, and it's how you change. That's our responsibility, is changing that system.
Here, round of applause. Thank you, Sally, and that was really important. Okay, the lady over there. Yep.
Hiya. This is. Oh, sorry. My name's Jez. This is following on from the last question, really. It's the definition of healthy food. That can be quite nebulous, but there is a scientific definition of ultra-processed food. It's called the NOVA classification system, and there's 4 levels of it. NOVA 4 is industrial formulations made mostly from substances derived from foods and additives, not typically used in home cooking, made in factories. And there's more and more evidence coming out that it's pretty bad for you, but the research originated in Brazil, where they saw the effects of this food most clearly, because ultra-processed food didn't really exist in Brazil until the 70s or 80s. They noticed very, very quickly that a diet that went from predominantly whole, minimally processed foods made at home in the kitchen to ultra-processed foods caused a huge spike on a population level of childhood obesity, cancers, heart problems, liver problems, metabolic syndromes. So from that, I think we can infer that, you know, there are, maybe you can't say this food is healthy, this food is unhealthy, and be that clear-cut about it, but we can be fairly sure that this level of industrial processing is bad, and none of the people here would be creating that sort of food, which I think probably does give them the right to say that their food's pretty healthy.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that clarity. It was really important. Thank you. Yeah. Just wait for Zarina to bring just your first name as well.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Guy. I thought it was so interesting when you brought class up as an issue as well, because for me, home baked, you know, when I go to Anfield on my bike, and I go there for a reason, to try to have a pie, you know, but how things look visually, you know, you turn the television on and you look at the news and you see war, pictures of war every single time. You got 24 hours of this, and it's constant, and it's talked about because it just affects how you feel and how you respond to things around you. Now, my dad always tells me stories about when he was like a young boy, and there was he lived in Greenbank by Greenbank Park, and there was like a cattle farm, you know, there was milking cows and trams, and there weren't any cars either, so you could play in the streets and you could be connected to green space in the park. And you look back at and you think about like the things that did come out of the world, you know, the Second World War. And in terms of class, when people came home, you know, women kept people alive and kept people fed, and rationing, it was continued. And I think that was then when the European Union sort of came together, I thought that was a wonderful time, because, you know, when people complained about, in Europe, in the EU, they have these long lunches and they'll just sit and sip wine. And I thought to myself, that's because people get along. It brings countries together. Food brings people together. It kind of slows down the conversation, and it makes people feel good. And you get on in that way. And the same thing happened with where you went on holiday and when you mix with other people. Now, for me, I think the connections between all the allotments and all the libraries and people in education, in schools and cafes, there should be I think the beauty of flowers can be the thing that changes areas as much as anything else. And obviously vegetables and fruit. Trees, because you can get trees that hold hands, you know, line them up on the street.
Guy, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a great history there you've given us, and some memories of Liverpool. Some people here will be remembering some of those things. So thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Anybody else want to ask a question or make a comment? Yep. Just your first name, please.
Hi, I'm Sandy. Thank you very much for the presentations. Really inspiring, thanks. I just wanted to think about the growing and the barriers to growing, and also seeing all the pictures of the abundance of all the red cabbages. I wonder whether access to cooking and knowing how to cook and having time to cook and having kitchens that we can cook in might be a barrier. Obviously not when we're buying amazing pies, but when we're thinking of growing something at home, and when we have a glut of it at a certain time of year. So I wonder what you think about how we might improve access to cooking. And yeah,
this is definitely coming in Daniel's direction. I can feel it.
I think everything we talked about tonight, you can't be too negative about certain things, because I think there's definitely a shift in society in terms of how we look at food at the moment, and people are more conscious in lots of ways about what they're eating and things. I mean, it would be great if there was more community kitchens and those type of things, but if you look at the positive side of it, with the likes of social media and things like that, we probably never had a better time than right now, where people can get educated on cooking food than through channels in that way, YouTube, social media. So it's definitely positive, but it would be good to see more community kitchens. I think what Jerry's doing at La Selle, and how people are coming and being shown how to grow at home. But also, you know, the goal for that venture is to have a kitchen where people are coming in and also being educated, whether it be community people or young people. So I think more projects like that is what's needed, essentially.
So our experience in home baked of that cooking thing is, there's actually quite a lot of barriers to people cooking at home, and I know this is something that Lucy works on. We do some training, and we do training on a one-to-one basis, because we find that sheep dipping people doesn't help. But if you've got no money, you're not going to be able to buy the things that help you cook and pay for the electricity. Cooking's actually quite expensive. So there's definite barriers to people cooking from home, even if they've got access to things. So many people don't have a cooker, they only have a microwave, or they only have an air fryer, and they don't necessarily buy spices or herbs or the things that make your cooking interesting, because if it's easier to buy a vape than an apple, where the hell are you going to get coriander from? And Lucy will comment on this in terms of some comments that she'd made on social media, when people kept telling her that, well, just go to your local delicatessens. Well, hallelujah, how nice to have a local delicatessen.
Okay, Jens, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to, kind of almost a bit of a plug, but in our community growing projects, we we grow food locally, but then we teach people how to kind of take that produce and cook in it. But it's really interesting to see the kind of barriers that there are towards people preparing food. So there's obviously, there's one end where there's just people just don't have access to it at all. But a lot of our, actually all of our produce goes to food banks currently, and people there, they don't even have microwaves. The only thing they have to cook is a kettle. So even just with our produce, you say, well, you can put the lettuce in a kebab. That will actually kind of upgrade the kebab or your burger. But even that for some people is a step they wouldn't think about, and it's taking, as you said, kind of taking control of your food in a way. So I think there is a really important role in teaching and educating how to cook. There's a lot you can do that's really, really simple that would massively increase people's health and well-being. But obviously, that you have to be at a certain level for that to even be possible. So.
Thank you very much. I'm just conscious of time. We've only got a few minutes left. Thank you for the contributions that you've all contributed to the Q&A, and thank you for your questions. I want to try and draw things to a halt, so we finish exactly at 7:30 as we promised. One of the things that's really important about this seminar series is it's a series. It's not a one-off. Lucy is going to be probably one of the few people who've been to every single one of them, which is wonderful. We're trying to take our participants on a journey. We started the journey looking at the national picture. We're coming down to the more local picture, particularly focusing on farming and food miles. And Lucy will be talking next time about some of the issues that you're already raising tonight, about what decisions we make in our home, what food's like in the home, how we deal with food waste, where we go out to eat, the places we go to eat, what questions do we ask of the restaurants where we are. We need to be we need to learn about some of this so that we can begin to make a difference. Engage is very concerned as city centre and waterfront residents that we don't really have a food market where we can go and buy fresh food on a regular basis. It's shocking that in this day and age, we can go to almost any European city and many parts of London and see the most astounding food markets, but not in this country and not in this city. How do we start that conversation? Who do we pressure? How do we begin to say, we demand it, we want it, we want everybody from Anfield to Croxteth to be able to access good food. And that means food that's produced locally and you can access it easily. And that isn't happening here. And we know that Queen of Greens, the van that Lucy's been running, is fantastic, taking greens out to people. But it shouldn't be a van, and it shouldn't be a volunteer. It shouldn't be a charity that's taking that around. So first of all, thank you everyone for tonight. I want to thank particularly our speakers, to Chris and Helen. It's been really wonderful. Your energy and vision are a real inspiration to me and to all of us here, I'm sure, tonight. Thank you for giving us some of your precious time. And I think we all understand how important time is to farmers. I hope some here tonight will consider attending one of your volunteering days when we can help out on the farm. And I'm sure there will be people who will go. You've already had one volunteer here with Diana. And that means if Diana goes, the whole family has to go. So that's 5 of them. Thanks to our showcases, to Sally Ann, and also to Angela, who produced the food and brought it. So thank you for that. To Jen, standing in for Paul, and to Daniel. So thank you very much to all of you. I want to thank our sponsors, Feeding Liverpool, who are here tonight, and their guests, and to Liverpool City Council ward councillors for the city centre and the waterfront, who've helped us with funding as well. I want to thank City Liverpool College, and there's nobody around to thank personally, but I'm particularly grateful to Jan Schofield, who made it possible in the beginning, and to Tony, who may be over there, the facilities team, for helping us out. And of course, Engage directors, without whom we couldn't put this kind of stuff on. Finally, please fill in the feedback forms. If you need a pen, Graham's got some pens there. And don't forget, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time, hopefully, at the Daffodil, the ex-Mersey Ferry, moored on Canning Dock, on the Strand, at the same time. And there will be some free food as you arrive. And we're going to be one of the very first groups to go onto the Daffodil in their new event space, which is in the hold. So if you're coming, don't go into their restaurant and don't go into their bar. Ask for the Engage event in the hold of the ship. Okay? So thank you and good night, and we really appreciate you being here. Thank you again to everybody. Thank you.